Good morning. This is 2A Radio. We are broadcasting from Pennsylvania, in the United States of America. And we are here once again with inside Liberia. And today we will be looking inside the Republic of Kenya. And so we have one of our newest correspondents from Kenya who will give us an update. You are aware Kenya is having our election, it's ongoing, and so there's a lot of information coming from that part of Africa. This morning, we want to look at the issues that confront Liberia. As you are aware, the House of Representatives and Senate are now beginning their fifth section, or they have started their session for the year 2022. So in the opening of the legislative session, the Speaker and the Vice President, meaning the presiding officer of the Liberian Senate, did speak on a number of issues, and we thought to emphasize on that. Also, in Grand Bassa County, there is issue of power, that is electricity. And those are issues that this morning we talked to one of our correspondents from Grand Bassa County. But before we go to TAR, let's look at the statement that came from Buffalo Chambers. Buffalo Chima has said or promised Liberians that they will give them Oasis of Hope, but we think Oasis of Hope has a lot of obligations. We'd expect that Oasis of Hope means the tenet of democracy will be protected at all levels. Like the 2022 national budget, it was well expected that the House of Representatives would have looked at the 2022 national budget in the face of calling members of the different ministries and agencies, meaning those who are heading those institutions, to come and give their analysis as to the figure assigned them. Having realized that the House of Representatives failed to do that, well, we think that was a misstep. However, the Liberian Senate, in its opening, the Vice President, who is the presiding officer of the Senate, has told members of the Senate to deeper into the 2022 national budget so that it can have an impact on the people of Liberia. Well, Joe Howard Taylor has also called on members of the Senate to follow the tenets of democracy, although this call is not new in the practice of Liberian governance system. But we hope that those who speak will live up to the terms and conditions of what the Constitution and democracy requires. In view of that, we believe that we will look up to the Liberian Senate and House of Representatives for this year, 2022, as we go into the next year, 2023, going to be election year. So much is expected from that august body in ensuring a balance of power between the legislative branch of government, the executive, and the judicial branch of government. Those are the institutions that are spearheading the running of the affairs of the people. And we'd expect that they all will check one another to ensure good governance. Having said those, let's look into Grand Bassa this morning. Ta, good morning. Ta, are you there? Good morning.
Good morning, James, and good morning to those following us across the globe. And let me say happy and prosperous 2022 to everyone following the broadcast this morning.
That's good. Although you were defeated yesterday by Nima County, but let's see what you have for us in Grand Bassa.
Well, that is the beauty of sportsmanship. I don't know about other Batsuans, but I've wholeheartedly accepted the defeat because we've won that championship numerous of occasions. And so, having been defeated by Nima yesterday, further gives us the zest to move on and do better in the next county meet. But moving on straight to happenings in Grand Bassa County, just to be very much blunt, Bassa is relatively calm this morning. Sorry for the late whispering at my background, but Bassa is relatively calm this morning. And as I can say to you kindly, one of the issues confronting Bassa has to do with electricity. Since post-war Liberia, from the coming in of the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf government up to the current government in power headed by former soccer legend, Ambassador George Manwia, His Excellency, Bassa is one of the counties which is actually suffering from the issue of power.
Yeah.
And many can ask the questions, decades after Liberian Civil War, why can Liberia say to the world that she does not have stable current? and not only in Montserrat but across the country. And there was this pilot project sponsored by the World Bank and implemented by the West African Power Pool Project to bring in power supply from other West African countries to run through Liberia, neighboring Sierra Leone, Ivory Coast, and Guinea. This project has been underway for over 7 years now, and Nima is fairly enjoying surge immunity. Maryland, same thing. Grand Chile, same thing. Bassa, a power station has been constructed. It was officially turned over the earlier part of last year. But up to current, it was surprising to know that up to current, we only applied the route and see the power station well lighted and very attractive. But up to current, we cannot witness power supply across the capital, the second nation's capital, which is Buchanan City. So this has raised serious concerns among citizens, and it reached up to our legislative caucus members. And just during the opening of the session of the 54th legislature, the senator of Grand Bassa County, the lone female senator there, actually expressed concern that this thing is long overdue. What is happening? That up to current, after months of seeing this power station being turned over, we cannot see the flow of current or electricity throughout the county. And the pro tem was very blunt with that. Pro tem Abachi came up and he said openly, admittedly, as a matter of fact, that the government of Liberia is heavily indebted in a tune of 9 million United States dollars, and that is what has brought a halt to the supply of electricity across the county. And so we started to ask some questions, some hard questions to the senator, and she informed us that that is why they were elected. If it do not raise such an
we wanted to know if the pro tem said Liberia is highly indebted. Indebted to whom?
They are indebted to the West African Power Pool because the interest of this entire power project is to give you the supply. The power station will be built, and locally we will do the supply. So it entails light bulbs, wires, and this has been ongoing in other counties. So probably the government of Liberia has not been able to settle some of those debts because, mind you, we can always send these projects out for bidding, and some of those vendors that bid and are successful will win the contract, and to some extent the government may ask for pre-finalized, and some of those contracts have been pre-finalized, and the government has not been able to clear said debts. So some of the vendors will say, well, we cannot continue if we cannot clear our previous debt. But the pro tem didn't go in depth when it comes to what led to such a huge debt, but he was very much blunt. And admittedly, he said the government of Liberia owes 9 million United States dollars, and that is what has brought a halt to the continuation of the project when it comes to supply of electricity, particularly in Grand Bassa County.
Okay, but besides the power issue, what else do you have coming from Grand Bassa County in terms of news?
Well, a lot of things are happening, and a couple of weeks ago, I did report regarding the arrival of the Minister of State for Presidential Affairs to Buchanan in person of Honorable Nathaniel Fano McGill, and he came in Buchanan or Grand Bassa County for two major reasons: to help women that are into many businesses through a micro loan scheme, and also to aid students with scholarship, particularly less fortunate students that their parents cannot actually afford to have them in school. And that project was launched, and school administrators were asked to submit the names of those students that were already selected to form part of that scholarship scheme. And trust what? Since those names were submitted, parents have played this reluctancy road wherein they care less. Not that they do not care about their kids, but they just could not afford. And with this help coming in, they feel very reluctant that, look, the minister have stated clearly that he will help our kids to be in school. But up to current, quite frankly, we've been able to speak with few school administrators that thought that we keep them anonymous in this discussion, but they've complained that since then they've not been able to get self-funding, which is also strangulating their operation as an institution. So this is one of the major challenges that some institutions are faced with in Basel following the scholarship scheme launched by the Minister of State for Presidential Affairs. And some of them complain that students will always sit and say, well, I cannot tell my parents to pay money because the minister already said he will pay our fees. And so they are not getting in funds to run the administrative arm of the institution. So this is causing a serious havoc. So they've decided to come up in the not too distant future with an official press statement. But I got this information from inside sources, well-placed sources, that informing that in the not too distant future, some school administrators, particularly from the private sector, are coming up with a strong press statement reminding the Minister of State of his obligation to their separate institutions.
Okay, that's a very good issue information, and we will keep our eyes on that. And we want to say clearly that the government has a larger obligation, and for the Minister of State to come out to say or promise people in Grand Bassa County, we want to urge him to meet up with his promises. There are a few issues that we think, and we might discuss that in subsequent broadcast, and that has to do with promises made by individual ministers or individuals within the national government. To promise Margaret loan or to decide scholarship, we think it should be holistic. And how to do that is to make sure that the national budget, if you decide to give a scholarship fund, the Minister of Education, what is it? What is the duration of the scholarship? So it should be well carved. It should be well decided so that people will not be, running behind individual. Assuming that the 2022 national budget, the Minister of State decided to provide a scholarship opportunity for Liberians in not just Grand Bassa County, that would have been a thoughtful decision. And those thoughtful decisions would have considered, or would have, even if you don't want to use the Minister of Education, you can form a specialized committee to look into those matters, and we'll find how students like that, a merit-based scholarship, you wouldn't have noise coming out in the form and manner that we hear from Grand Bassa County. However, we'll follow up on that issue, and if necessary, we might extend invitation to the Minister of State to see whether he can appear, or you can send somebody who's confidant, or send the press secretary to give some information, or they could issue the press statement. We also would be glad to hear those. Having said those, we want to say thank you this morning, the Bassa chief. I mean, I like your gown this morning. You look so splendid in your gown, and that is a typical display of a Bassa chief. Except you have in a closing. Yeah.
Yeah, just before I leave you, I would just love to close up with the end of the semi-finals, the football discipline of the National County Sports Meets 2021-2022 between Grand Bassa County and Nimba County on last night, late last evening in Monrovia, or Painesville City, to be specific, at the most talk about Samuel Kayando Sports Complex. Well, there were a few reservations. We spoke with a couple of Bassoans that trooped in to Monrovia, particularly the SKD Sports Stadiums in Painesville, to follow live this much talk about semi-final game on last night. And some of them complained. But from our own analysis as media practitioners, one of the key issues I would love to stress on is that you do not go to a race with a preconceived mind of defeat. And I think the Bassa team on last evening didn't do well. There were a lot of tension, a scene of arrogance before the start of the game. And I don't know if it was what precipitated the president's action along with the first lady to leave the stadium, because he was already seated and he walked down to probably do another kickoff. But unfortunately, the stand-up action was not too good when it comes to sportsmanship. But all in all, we were defeated. And I think we have to prepare and do more. And let me say congratulations to Nimba County. I think they showed us last night that the GB is actually harder than the Fufu. But it was a good sport encounter, mouth-watering encounter on yesterday. And I think we did well. but we are placed for the third place with Magidi, and so we hope to achieve that in this 2021-2022 county sports meet.
Okay, that's good from your end, Todd. I mean, Grand Bassa is defeated already. We heard that they want to file protest. We just asked them, well, that's it. You are defeated. Just prepare for the third place and see what you can win that position for this year. Having said that, we want to say thank you so much. And before we go to our correspondent from Kenya, he's our newest correspondent from the Republic of Kenya. But let's give this caution to Liberians. Information coming from the Border Patrol, meaning the Minnesota port of entry. There are people who are bringing dry meat, or what we call bush meat, what they describe as bush meat, into the United States. That's a very serious issue. And they have started to destroy a lot of bush meat. People dry them in many factions. And information we are getting is that they package them into newspapers and tape them very well so that they can be discovered. But again, they also lied to the Border Patrol to airlines that those items they are bringing, they are all dry fish. But upon arrival, Border Patrol is giving information that they are catching most of these dry meat, bush meat, and which we think we should add our voice. COVID is reaching health, and they believe if you must know your environment. Those of you who are green card holders or citizens of the United States, you know exactly what is happening in America. So when you're traveling, when you go to, and they make specific reference to Liberia. All right. So we want to caution Liberians. This is not a time to travel into the United States bringing bush meat or dry meat. If you come into, go and eat all your stuff when you're coming, just come with your clothes and what have you. Leave the bush meat behind. I mean, these things don't only affect you, but affect the nation. If a single Liberian is caught at the port of entry, bringing bush meat into this country, it gave a lot of signal. It just appeared that we are not thinking people. So we want to ask each and every Liberians, when you come into the States, know your environment, know what you're doing, follow the news, see what is happening. Some of you are knowledgeable, but yet people ignore all of these things. They think they can beat the people system. And when you are caught, it sends a lot of signal. So we just want to ask our voice this morning. Please, those of you who are already in Liberia, when you're coming, just leave your meat behind. Let the people on the side eat the meat. You know, I told somebody the few that say, you know what? The freedom of America, even the red deer, the squirrels, they enjoy America's freedom. So to kill bush, we get plenty of red deer in this place. You can be driving, you see those things jumping from place to place. So we just want to caution all of you Liberians and other Africans who will probably be monitoring us, that when you come into the United States, it's a different terrain. You know, I get squirrel right behind my house. They jump up and down whole day. I just imagine something when I was a child coming up. No squirrel will come around me to enjoy that freedom that is in this America. So please, we just want to add our voice on that. When you come to America, please leave your bush meat, your dry meat behind, and come like that. Go and eat all that you can eat on that side. And then maybe African will be too strong, so we don't worry about coronavirus and other things. But a matter of fact, yesterday when I saw the football stadium, I was more worried. That was one of the singular issues that came to my mind. And maybe we will discuss that, but that's another issue. Because we are monitoring two different information. The health ministry is giving us information that COVID is on the increase. In the same vein, the youth and sport ministry is planning a mass gathering. So how do we balance these two? Well, those of you who in authority, I mean, this is where when you have cabinet meetings, it is expected that those ministers, directors who attend cabinet meetings will debate these issues without fear or favor and come up with a decision, because that's Liberians' issue. This is a global issue. If the global partners around Liberia see Liberia gathering in mass in this kind of situation, and at the same time reading information from the health ministry, it sends two different signals. You know, while we love sport, there's a global thing that's going on. There's a health crisis around, global health crisis. How do you mitigate these issues? Those are those are the issues that the government should be able to tackle very seriously. Right? That's our voice this morning. But let's go back. Let's go to our Kenyan correspondent. Dukan, how are you? Welcome to 2A Radio, your first day on this platform. Welcome.
Thank you very much, and I'm happy to be on two-way radio this morning.
Okay. All right.
Here we are in the afternoon.
Oh, okay. Anyway, thank you so much, and we are glad to have you to be part of the 2A Radio. This is an African Action Network radio station. As I said earlier, we might be able to get across Africa. How we do it? Well, we look up to the Almighty God and give us some direction and bring good people into our way so that we can do what we have to do. So what is happening this morning in Kenya?
In Kenya, we have lots of activities this year compared to other years because after every 5 years in Kenya, we have to have a new president. And currently, we are having rallies going up and down, people trying to see who is the best president to be which the election will be next, maybe August this year. And Kenya have experienced a lot of hate speech, and some of them have landed them to the problem. And as we remember, 2007 and 2008, Kenya, we had a lot of violence and many homes were burned down,
right.
Killed. So the president by then with his deputy were even taken to Hague to answer charges of arson and killings, and people moved from their homes. And this time they are not letting anything a chance as they try to curb this menace which brought a lot of people lose their lives and lose their homes. And in this week, many people, and last week, those people who are campaigning and those leaders who are campaigning, they had a rough time trying to explain to the authorities why they were using the hate speech. Most of them tried to use the word which were banned or which caused the problem 2007, 2008, which made Kenya almost came to knees because people died. A lot of more than 1,000 people died that day. And now Kenya is not, our government is not ready to let that thing happen again. So many ministers and also politicians were arrested and were made sure that they pay for what they talk on their rallies. The government say they will be deploying a lot of machinery to make sure nobody is spreading hate speech and nobody is taking us back to 2007, 2008 as we prepare for a general election on August 22nd this year. And
before you continue, Dukan, before you continue, there are how many political parties taking part in this election?
Currently, we have two major political parties which are taking place in this election. One is Democratic Alliance, which is it is called United Democratic Alliance, which is UDA, led by the deputy president, current deputy president of Kenya, who is William Ruto. And also we have what we call Azimio la Umoja, which is led by the alleged politician or opposition leader, who is Raila Amolo Odinga. And this time it is a very tough contest between these two because one is in the government, one is perceived to be in the government because we have what we call handshake, which happened by the president and this opposition leader, who is Raila Amolo Odinga. And the deputy is perceived not to be happy with what happened because they say that we defeated them. And why should you shake hands behind my back? So things are not that good in the government between the president and his deputy. And also, and also the opposition leader seems to be enjoying the fruits of the government even after election.
So from your observation, looking at the general atmosphere, is the deputy, in our situation we call vice president, is the deputy more popular than the president in the upcoming August election?
Yeah, it is perceived so because the president has been there for 2 terms, so he's not running for the other term. And in Kenya, we only go for 2 terms. We don't go for the 3rd term. So the deputy president is preparing to take over from the president. Though the president seems to be going on the opposition side, which is not very well with the deputy president. And so the deputy president is running a very vigorous campaign against the current government and the opposition leader who is perceived to be in the government.
Okay, so you have some pieces of videos here. Let's take the first one, and you give us some analysis of that.
So by the DPP is that they need to investigate the matter and find out to him. So I think part of it is the process of investigation, because I don't think they can carry in investigations without first recording a statement, and I hope there will be enough in disclosing the actual thing that you are going to do, because what they are telling me is that you are going to Nakuru police headquarters to record a statement. So that's why I'm wending to, and I think I'll comply with the law on the invitation by the police officers, and I think we won't be able to get out of it. Hope this is not an IT squad, which we are used to, right? So, but let the public know I'm already in the hands, and that's why we are ended to. So, to the extent that I may have been misquoted or been misunderstood, but anybody that really understands that that was a UNDA rally, and what I meant was that those people that are not followers of UNDA should be rejected by the Washington issue voters. That's what I meant. I am not a warlord. I am not a warmonger. You know, I'm peace-loving and I preach peace. I have no record for preaching violence. You want that?
Thank you.
Okay.
Wait,
one of the leaders rally.
Yeah, Duncan, we will come back. Duncan will come to you. We will come to you. You will give us explanation. Let's just. Okay, Duncan, who was speaking in the first place?
He's one of the politicians from the rally of United Democratic Alliance, which is UDA. They had a very big rally to launch their presidential aspirant, who is deputy president, and also his name is William Ruto. And they were a rally at Eldoret, where it is perceived many people died in 2007 due to post-election violence. And we have some words which I told you he altered, which didn't go well in the region, bearing in mind that a lot of people died there. Some died in the church. A lot of children were burned in the church. It's called a Kiambaa church. So the words did not go well with Kenyans and the Kenyan government. So he's one of the politicians who altered some words which did not go well, and he was arrested. The time he was speaking, he was in one of the hotels in this part of western or north rift of Kenya. It is called Eka Hotel. He was sleeping there, and the government tracked him down, make sure they arrest him and being prosecuted because of the word. Though for now the investigation are still going on to see if he uttered words which he meant to incite people against each other, and if he is found capable of doing that, he might spend so many years in jail. And this just to cut down some politicians who might bring chaos in the next general election, which will be held in August.
Okay, let's see this.
Kusema kwamba mimi nitampigia wanasema William Ruto akafufua uchumi wa pwani. Ninyi mnasema akuja arudishe bandari ya pwani kwa wapwani. Ninyi mnasema William Ruto akuja asifufue kilimo cha mnazi pwani. Nani anasema tunamwachilia William Ruto akuje pwani? Hebu nione hapo. Huyu William Ruto akuja afufue utalii pale pwani. Si mnajia utalii kubwa huko pale pwani. Mnataka huyu William Ruto atusaidie kufufua utalii wa uchumi pale pwani. Mimi nataka kuambia hivi kwamba sisi ni karibu wiki moja ndio ufike hapa kutoka Kilifi, lakini sisi tunapenda William Ruto pale Kilifi, na tunahakikishia watu wa hapa kwamba kura ya 2022 watu wa pwani watapatia William Samoei, na hapa Eldoret niulize, kura ya hapa ya urais ni ya nani? Rais wa tano ni wa taifa la Kenya ni nani? Hiyo ndio maombi yetu, na pale Pwani ndio hiyo tutafanya, kuweka William Samoei Ruto rais wa tano wa Jamhuri ya Kenya. Asanteni sana, Mungu awabariki. Sasa tunaelekea kule Runyenjes, Embu, rafiki yetu Karemba, mkorino mmoja kwa bunge. Aya, Eldoret! Tunaweza kuitisha mjumbe wetu wa kwanza Kawanjiko.
UDA Harambee! Harambee! Tuko pamoja. Imefika haijafika, imeiva haijaiva. Sasa nataka tusikizane, twende taratibu, ama namna gani?
Okay, that was a political campaign. You care to tell us something about that, Duncan?
Yeah, those were campaigns where those leaders uttered those words which did not go well. He's not the only leader who was arrested because uttering what we have almost other 2 or 3 which are still on the radar of the government, and they are supposed to be arrested anytime. And some have been arrested, but more arrests are said to be on the way, and we are expecting this will curb our leaders not to utter words which will incite against communities and individuals who have been living together with harmony because of the politics. And this what has been going on. The clips is just from one-sided from UDA. We did not manage to get from the alliance. I think next time we'll talk about Raila Amolo Odinga, because what we have seen there is for UDA, and it will not be that fair to show only one clip from one political party. They might say that we are somehow biased, but this what happened to those leaders who try to utter words which might incite and bring violence as a way of curbing up the violence which might be triggered by politicians as they campaign for this year election, which will be held on August this year.
Okay, Duncan, time is fast spent, and we will continue to follow up on the election. This is from now to August. That's a long period of time, so we'll continue to get updates from you and know how the election is going. But before we go, before we leave you, there's a concern. As I was watching the gathering, there are fewer persons who have masks on, and the majority of the people no masks, and of course there's no social distancing. So how is COVID news coming from in Kenya? How is the news about COVID? Is there anything serious or what?
Yeah, the new virus of COVID has brought down so many people in the country, and it seems there is a little bit of laxity of wearing masks because some of them say they have been vaccinated. So the government is doing its best to see if people are vaccinated and making sure they are wearing masks. It is now in the Kenyan constitution, if you are found without a mask, will be arrested. And up to now, we are told the doses which have been given to Kenya is around 9.37 billion. The fully vaccinated people are 3.92 billion. And this is just about 50%, 50.3% of Kenyans who have been vaccinated. We are hoping people will continue being vaccinated and we'll be updating you on this.
Okay, we want to say thank you and we hold you right there. We will get back to you subsequent broadcast and be able to get more detailed information from you. Better still, we will appreciate to get NN documentary information from you so that our people can be informed. Also help to share the video with your audience, and then we all will be glad to have. Once again, before we end it,
Before you let me go, there's some corrections which I may want to correct. It's about people who are fully vaccinated. They are not 3.92 billion. Is 4.58 million people who have been vaccinated, and doses which have been given is about 10.8 million, which is a population which is fully vaccinated is about 8.5%, which is too low.
Too low. That's correct. That's correct. So we hope that Africa will because if you see the kind of a gathering, we all are concerned about COVID, and so we just cross our eyes on that. Once again, we want to say thank you so much for this morning appearing on 2A Radio, and we look forward to hearing more new development from Kenya.
Thank you.
Okay, that was the voice of Duncan Wanga. He's our correspondent from Kenya. This morning, we have heard from one of our correspondents again. He's from Grand Bassa County, and that was Mr. Ta. Mr. Ta informed us of one issue we want to pick up from his broadcast this morning. That is, the Liberian government is owing the West African electricity pool. And we want to urge the Liberian government to do all they can to pay whatever they owe that institution to see that electricity can be provided for the different counties in Liberia. Also, we want to welcome the legislative branch of government for starting its legislative session for this year. And we hope, as they have promised, to work for the general good of Liberians. That is where we stand, and this is where we come. On today's edition, we have had two of our correspondents, and that was one from Kenya and one from Grand Bassa County. The other correspondent, we're looking forward to hear from them. Until then, this is 2A Radio. We've been broadcasting from Pennsylvania, United States of America. We want to say thanks to our technical advisor who is in the background, Patient Blay, and she's one person who is all out for us whenever we start this broadcast. Once again, thank you so much for being there. Share the video and join us next time. Bye for now. I'm James Jensen.